Hey, it's Dave Chapin. Welcome to the Wolf Sports YouTube channel. Today's video is an interesting exercise. If the NFL had a redraft of the entire league, who would you want to build your team around? In other words, who are the NFL's top franchise players? I'm sharing my top 10, and naturally they're all quarterbacks, which is the most important position in sports, and a position that Wolf Sports has proven to be the best at scouting coming into the league. This ranking and redraft separates the current supporting cast of these quarterbacks. For example, Patrick Mahomes with Andy Reid. In real life right now, it's hard to pick against that and argue against that, the success they've had, but that's separated for these rankings. So all things being equal in a team sport, which players would be the best picks if the league had a full redraft from the entire player pool? I want to first talk about a few guys that just missed the top 10. One is 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy. The hate he gets is crazy. It's obvious he has a great feel for playing the position, and he still played well last season despite a ton of injuries around him. People point to the offense being very talented, but that doesn't mean Purdy isn't excellent. And if you're building a team, you should put your quarterback in position to have success. All things being equal, Purdy is legit. There's also third-year quarterbacks Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, who have shown major flashes of being special. Number 10 mostly came down to two second-year quarterbacks. I initially had Caleb Williams locked in there, but I switched it. Williams had some rough patches, held on the ball a little bit too long sometimes as a rookie, but also showed the rare flashes of skill that made him such an exciting prospect. And while the struggles and dysfunction of the Bears overshadowed it, Williams, with a 10-2 touchdown interception ratio in the fourth quarter, led a few drives in crunch time that could have easily resulted in more wins, including the Hail Mary loss to Washington that derailed Chicago's season. If a coach, Ben Johnson, has the opportunity now, can mold and hone Williams, he has all the makings of a top-tier quarterback on the field, from a quick release to a laser arm to superb improvisation skills to clutch play that he showed last season. Again, I did initially have Williams at number 10 because of his rare talent. Ultimately, I talked about Williams. He's a top honorable mention. But I'll go with Jaden Daniels at number 10, partly due to the character, super high character. I was initially going to leave him out, and he's a little lower than maybe he could be because of durability concerns at his frame. But I'll just say all the work he puts in, the VR stuff he does, his offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, who did a great job with him last year in the offense, talked recently about Daniels basically having a photographic memory, so that's massive. That is just such a boost for a quarterback. And then the way he can run, he's electric. The way he throws the deep ball. So I was going back and forth between Daniels and Williams for number 10. I'll give the reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year the slight nod, but I'm still high on Williams and the talent that made him the top pick in the draft last season. He was basically tied as the top prospect in that class with somebody we'll get to later in the rankings. While Williams was number 1, we had Daniels as a top 10 prospect as well last year, the Heisman Trophy winner, and again, durability somewhat of a concern for him, and it'll be fun to watch him get tested more in year 2 after how well he played as a rookie. At number 9, someone who's been written off multiple times was, I think he said it himself, basically sent to Siberia, almost, is what people thought was happening, but current Lions quarterback Jared Goff, if Goff was a few years younger, he'd be at least a couple of spots higher, but I suspect that his ranking in the top 10 is disputed regardless. Goff and Detroit as a whole, it wasn't just on him, didn't play well overall. The wheels fell off a little bit for such an injured team, I think, in last year's playoff loss to the Commanders. But it's not like we haven't seen him play lights out in the postseason before. Just go look at what he did against the Saints in New Orleans when he was with the Rams back during his time there. Goff's ability to thread the needle short, intermediate, and deep leads to big numbers if you surround him with the right pieces like Brad Holmes and the Lions have done. And the style of play from the pocket is proven to be sustainable. Maybe the most accurate quarterback in the league right now. He's sort of a throwback who can play well into his high 30s like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees did. Remember, people discounted him for years. So those same people who control narratives aren't going to say how great he is. But Goff has rallied an entire city and team as the pinpoint distributor of an elite attack, basically built from the ground up around him. Now for my number 8 franchise player, and age is a massive factor with this one. It's Trevor Lawrence. The former number 1 overall pick has played 4 NFL seasons and will enter his 5th year at just 25 years old, which is insane. So the combination of age, experience, talent, and upside make him an incredible option to build a franchise around. Injuries have become a concern, so Lawrence must stay healthy, and he must be more consistent. To some extent, the playoff comeback versus the Chargers a couple of years ago, from 4 first-half interceptions to 4 touchdown throws in a comeback from a 27-0 hole, captured Lawrence through 4 seasons, some up and downs. I'm betting on the good he's shown and that he gets better with even more football under his belt. And he's already played a lot. At number 7, someone with immense talent. Justin Herbert is the primary reason Jim Harbaugh took the Chargers head coaching job last year. And the first regular season together was very good, with a 23-3 touchdown interception ratio during the regular season as more and more was put on his plate over the course of the year while he got healthier. It's the ugly 4-interception postseason outing against the Texans, which keeps Herbert clearly outside of the top 5 among franchise building blocks, at least for now. The rocket-armed quarterback is now 0-2 in the postseason, and again, while it's a team sport, he'll tell you he hasn't played well enough individually to help his team advance. If he gets over the hump, watch out, but he has a golden arm and can throw the ball with the best of them. Next, if you listen to a lot of the mainstream talk out there, you'll be shocked by this. You'll be totally floored. If you're a longtime follower of Wolf Sports, then you might think a little differently. But at number 6, yes, I have Bo Nix knocking on the door of the top 5 as a long-term franchise quarterback with superstar potential. I hope you guys watched the video about the narrative regarding Bo Nix's arm talent being totally off. If you missed it, you can watch it by clicking the card in the top corner of the screen. Looked at from a lens of groupthink, this is no doubt the most controversial ranking on the list. However, how would Nix be looked at right now if the pre-draft analysis, if that's what you call it, about him wasn't way off? A weak arm, Nix bombed the longest completed pass of the season in an epic fourth quarter at Cincinnati as a rookie. Low upside, Nix had the 3rd most touchdowns for a rookie in NFL history. Just look at what Nix did with what was projected as a 4.5 win team with work to do at the skill positions on offense. His 10-game stretch of 20-plus touchdowns and 2 or fewer turnovers was only done by Breeze, Brady, Mahomes, and Rodgers over the past decade, and none of them were rookies. Like great quarterbacks do, Nix elevated the play of his teammates around him. He's an excellent processor, has a whip for an arm, can make plays with his legs, and should take care of the ball as well as anyone, as he did at Oregon, as he gets more reps at the next level. And spending a little more time on this one, because, again, it's going to be controversial, and that's not what I'm going for. It's just how I feel. I don't care what other people say. They're wrong year after year. And not saying he's a total lock to keep up his play and progress and become a superstar, but I believe in him as Sean Payton does, and it's about projecting. Nix quickly gained the respect of teammates like Patrick Surtain and division rivals like Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Steve Spagnuolo. And the play style of keeping drives moving and just making plays is reminiscent of top signal callers. I actually want to play some of those clips now here to bolster what's probably the most controversial ranking among the NFL's top franchise players.
New quarterback, what do you see out of Bo Nix?
When are we going to get one that's not so good? Boy, for a rookie, he has a command. I went back and watched the first game he played in, and I thought Sean had him doing things that, sometimes you say, do you have a rookie do it in the first game that he plays? But yet there he is doing it. And I just think he's gotten better every week. He looks more comfortable. You guys see it. It's another athletic quarterback. And I think those guys are always headaches because there's certain things you can and can't do because you're afraid that he's going to make you look bad with his feet, and he can do that. And I think he's getting – listen, the guy can throw the football. There's no doubt about that. They got themselves a good one.
It was funny, after the game, you're going across the field, and I see Andy and a few of the other guys, and I see Patrick and known him, and he just turned to me and said, you got one. And I think he told Bo, hey, we're going to have a lot of good games, and that's something coming from him.
Now to the top 5 players to build an NFL franchise around. I think the order can vary a little bit, but for the most part, this top 5 was pretty clear to me when you take into account the success these guys have had over the years, not just 1 year or up and down years. Again, it's a team game, and Joe Burrow did more than enough as an individual performer to get the Bengals into the postseason in 2024. Leading the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns. It was really great to see the concerns about his wrist injury from a couple of seasons ago put to bed as he picked apart defenses. Had a career high in rushing success with 4.8 yards per carry. He had that 47-yard touchdown run against the Giants on Sunday Night Football, where he gave that funny look, which you laugh every time you see it, and it just shows some of the swag he has, I guess. Throwing to Jamar Chase helps, but Burrow's 68.6% completion percentage is the best in NFL history, so he's going to get the ball in the hands of his playmakers and put pressure on the defense. But my favorite part about Burrow's game, and I think the main reason why he's so good, is his toughness. He'll stand in there in the pocket to deliver the ball to all his weapons. Given all he can do on the football field, Lamar Jackson can be higher than number 4. I seriously considered him at number 2. and almost switched it at the last minute. And he seems to be getting better by the year. Ultimately, Mark Andrews not being able to come up with a catch on the 2-point conversion didn't allow Baltimore to tie the divisional round matchup at Buffalo in January. But it was extremely encouraging to see Jackson lead an 88-yard touchdown drive when his team needed it to stay alive. I'm not sure the former Heisman Trophy winner and 2-time MVP, though I've been higher on him than anyone since his time at Louisville, would have pulled that off a couple of years ago. So not only is Jackson probably the most dynamic quarterback still, he's become one of the game's most efficient, and that's just so scary. It says everything about why he's one of the top guys to build an offense around. For me, number 3 is number 1 for many. 3-time Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes. While there's no doubt Mahomes is one of the NFL's top quarterbacks and would be a Hall of Famer if he retired today, the consensus I think goes a bit overboard with praise for some reason. For example, the talk of it being clearly Mahomes, then a massive gap, then everyone else is simply ridiculous. When the Chiefs win, it's almost all Mahomes. When they lose, it's because Mahomes didn't get enough help. The reality is Mahomes is a super talented player and a leader who gets the most out of his teammates, gets them to rally around him. But the situation in Kansas City with Andy Reid should not be discounted when stacking up the NFL's best building blocks. The best part of Mahomes' game right now is how calm and clutch he is with the chance to win the game. When things are on the line, Mahomes calmly operates Reid's offense, sprinkling in plays with his legs when necessary to push his squad over the top. That said, Mahomes hasn't been at his typical level the past couple of regular seasons, and he's somewhat quietly been not at his best in 5 Super Bowl appearances despite 3 rings. As I said with Purdy, and as I'll say with the next guy, and you could say for Burrow too, I know the offensive line struggles some, but during Jamar Chase, T. Higgins definitely benefit. I'm not just knocking Mahomes for playing for Reid. He's obviously one of the top guys right now, if not the top. All things being equal, and age does play a minor factor here, especially for number 2, and then number 1 is also a little bit younger. I'm just not going to say Mahomes is the clear number 1 franchise player to build around, despite his massive success. Coming in at number 2 is reigning Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts, who has played at a very high level in 2 appearances in the big game. I'm tired of the Hurts disrespect. The Eagles quarterback has accomplished a ton at just age 26, age playing a factor in this number 2 ranking, and he's a player built for today's game with an ability to kill defenses with both his arm and his legs. The damage Hurts does on the ground is a power element, while the highly underrated deep ball, perhaps the best in the league, and precision to all areas of the field bring a touch of finesse. Also, the former second-round pick has shown continued improvement against the blitz, which was perhaps the only weak point in his game earlier in his career. People hold it against Hurts because he plays with a stacked roster, but as stated in the open, you want to put your quarterback in position to have success. Are people seriously going to argue Hurts wouldn't be having similar success if he was with Reid and the Chiefs or John Harbaugh, Todd Monken, and the Ravens? Overall, defenses must guard against just about everything Hurts brings to the table, which is a tall task. Also, as Peyton Manning recently said, the cerebral part of Hurts' game is so underappreciated because of his physical talent. There are a ton of phenomenal players, and for the purposes of the top players to build a team around phenomenal quarterbacks in the NFL right now, but the quickest player to stack among franchise building blocks was Josh Allen in the number 1 spot, and that's not to say he's a much better quarterback than the other worthy options, but I don't think people understand just how impressive what he's done in Buffalo is, putting the team on his shoulders a ton. He's coming off his first MVP, an honor he certainly could have won multiple times before last season, silencing any of the remaining doubters lingering around since the incomparable criticism the Wyoming product received as a prospect in 2018. We all know about Allen's talent, which maybe not everyone acknowledges or realizes is perhaps the most accurate quarterback in the league with the way he throws darts all over the field. And to perform at the level he has while lifting the Bills to the championship picture every year has been astonishing. He was thrown in the fire as a rookie and has consistently performed no matter what's happening around him. Football is a team game, not an individual sport. If the Bills approach the 13 seconds game better defensively, or if Stephon Diggs comes down with Allen's deep dime a couple of postseasons ago, or even if, and not saying it was an easy play at all, a banged up Dalton Kincaid comes up with a 4th down catch last year, plays the supporting cast of the Chiefs has made over the years, conversations might be different. This is not tennis where it's one guy in total control. I mean, the Bills have given up 32 points per game in their past 4 playoff losses. Individually, ignore the stupid narratives. Allen has arguably been the best postseason performer in the league since Tom Brady retired. He averages the most touchdowns and yards per game in history. He is a big game performer and has done more than enough to put Buffalo in position to win multiple Super Bowls. So how do you guys feel about the top NFL franchise players to build around and my rankings? Feel free to let us know in the comments. If you like content like this that's not cookie cutter type stuff, we hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.